Up next, we have another power-packed keynote presentation on ensuring true digital transformation success and proven methods and lessons from the real world by Mr. Frederik Bisbjerg, Executive Director, Digitalization Innovation Daman National Health Insurance Company. I welcome you, Frederik, and the stage is all yours. Over to you.
I guess it's fair to say that we are living in a time where change is more necessary than ever. We have to introduce new initiatives, new way of working. We have to get used to a new normal working under the pandemic. So what I will be talking about today is when we are launching these necessary new initiatives, how do we make sure that they're actually a success? One thing is having the ideas, is having the plan on a piece of paper. And of course, another thing is to make sure that this plan is actually be implemented and you reap the benefits of the initiative, so you stay competitive. My name is Frederik, and I'm Executive Director with Daman National Health Insurance, the largest health insurer in the UAE. At Daman, we strive to put digital in the very center of healthcare in the country of the UAE. We do so by connecting more than 4,000 providers to more than 2.5 million members through all kinds of digital and physical channels. We strive to be in the center of the healthcare system in the UAE. And in order to do so, we also have to launch and implement many new initiatives. The fact is, when you're looking at transformation initiatives, only 30% of the initiatives are registered as a success. The rest are not reaping the benefits that they were intended to, or they're not reaching the goals. We have to understand why is this. It's only if we understand the reason for these projects not meeting their criteria that we can work against it and prepare for success. Therefore, in my presentation, I will talk about what is transformation. We've heard a lot about the terms digital transformation and disruption of our industries. But before, let's take a step back and look at what is digital transformation. Then I'd like to present my method of successfully implementing digital initiatives or transformation initiatives as such. And at the very end of this presentation, I will present to you the pitfalls, the common pitfalls of your transformation projects and how to do your utmost to avoid them. Allow me to start by reading out something aloud. This is a definition of digital transformation, and it explains the concept or the idea behind digital transformation. Well, digital transformation is a business management strategy focusing on the analysis and design of workflows and business processes within an organization. Digital transformation aims to help organizations fundamentally rethink how they do their work in order to improve customer service, cut operational costs, and become world-class competitors. Digital transformation seeks to help companies radically restructure their organizations by focusing on ground-up design of their business processes. Now, I'm stopping here because if you're around the same age as me, you will feel you've heard this before. So just take a look at this, because this is the definition of business process reengineering, which I believe was first coined in the 1980s. I'm not going to reread it because it's going to be exactly the same. My point being here that digital transformation is absolutely nothing new. Digital transformation is business process reengineering. It is transformation of the processes, the way that you work, the way that you interact with your peers, your partners, your networks. For the better, to reduce your cost, to improve your competitiveness, to improve your customer experience. The new thing is, of course, that we have much more digital tools available to do this transformation. But at the bottom line, the transformation processes are the same. And that involves people, that involves systems, and of course, it involves the processes themselves. So if it's been around for so long, why is it that we still only get 30% of these things right? Why is it that 70% of what we're doing is failing? When you look at this, I believe that you can split the reasons into two. You can split them into project-related reasons and leadership-related reasons. First, when you're looking at, and this is specifically for digital transformation projects, then many companies, especially when the pandemic hit, they went out and say, okay, we have to take our existing processes and add power to them. In my world, that is digitization. This is simply taking your forms and documents and everything and making available as PDFs or whatever online. The processes that you're working after remains the same. Yes, you may get faster processes, you may get some improvements, but you will not get radical improvements. This is where digitalization comes in. This is where you are actually re-looking at how you do work, questioning, do we have to do work the way we used to do, or can we do it smarter? Many projects that doesn't meet the expected outcome, they are digitizing. They are simply just adding power to their existing processes, and the benefits that are expected won't be as high. Another reason is the way that the companies, they work together on the project. You'll see that typically companies, they have a business analytics department that have a lot of data, that have access to all the historical data from the company, from the customers and the partners. But it is not very often seen that this unit is sharing these informations with the projects, with the people working on the projects, with the people working on the transformation. And by not doing so, you're missing out on a lot of important information on how to improve your processes, how to work better with customers and partners. The last one is looking at the project as an internal project. That's fine if it is an internal production process that you're optimizing, but in most cases, the processes that you're looking at are processes that involve partners, customers, or members. And bear in mind when I'm talking about this, I'm also talking about partners as colleagues. It's not enough that you're optimizing the way that you work within your own team or your own unit. You have to think about who does the work go to next. That is also your customers, even though it is colleagues within the same company. Many projects fail because they focus on optimizing what they're doing and not thinking of how can we make the work easier for the people, for the next in line to take over our work. From a leadership perspective, I'd say that the most common error is to think you can do these transformation projects on top of day jobs. A transformation project is a full-time project. It is a full-time job. You can't just add this on top of another project. People won't have the time to do it correctly. So it means the project will be deprioritized and you won't get the effects out of it that you expected. It seems simple to say, okay, this guy, he's really good at what he's doing. He can easily take this additional task, but you don't get the necessary focus that you require to do your things properly. In some cases, we also see that the leadership doesn't set a believable, credible, why are we doing this? A why can be we need to save FTEs, that's fine, but in order for people to really give everything they have, and you need everything they have, you need their brains, you need their knowledge of how to work to optimize the process in the best possible way. You need to have a realistic why. Why is it we are changing these processes? Why is it this is so important? If you create a realistic, believable, trustworthy, why are we doing this, you will also overcome the obstacles that you'll also face where people, they're resistant to change simply because they're worried about their position, their jobs, their future. If you make them believe that what they're doing is necessary for the company, for their future and for the job, then they will be more likely to join you in working positively towards making the project a success. Now let's talk about how do I approach these kind of transformation projects. First of all, if we relook at the definition of transformation or digital transformation, you'll notice that the word digital, it's used in the definition itself, but it's not used as an active part of what transformation is. Because transformation is changing the way you work, it is changing your processes, it is automating what you're doing. And that implies that it is not digital first. It is people and processes first. This is exceptionally important to understand. Don't start out looking at your systems. Start out looking at your people and your processes. A very good place to start is to look at the value chain of your company and identify where either it hurts the most or where you have the biggest opportunities of improvement in terms of making more customers or generating more revenue. Start with one simple area. Don't overdo it. It's a fact if you start to transform the whole value chain, you will, so to speak, rip away the carpet under the organization and everybody will fall and don't know how to get up. You must start focused in an area where you will see the results fast, but also get results that actually matters to the business. Then I'll propose that you break your project or your area into the business units that you're working with and start the first transformation project within one business unit, maybe even within one team. You have to keep it simple, you have to keep it small in order to control it, but also in order to make sure that it becomes a success fast. Work with the people. In many cases, just by working on how people are working with each other, interacting with each other, moving paper between each other, so to speak, you get a long way in understanding how are you working, and at the same time you can actually optimize how people work together. So this is very first step. The next step is, of course, looking more formally at the processes. How are we doing handover of documents? What documents are required? Can we automate? Can we eliminate the needs for some of these documents or workflows? Work on optimizing this, eliminate as much as you can, automate as much as you can. And again, you won't be touching your core systems that much. So you're capable of creating a lot of goodwill and a lot of results even before you go deep into the machine room and looking at the IT systems. At this point, you also start thinking about the processes that you're working with. How do you hand them over to the next receiving unit? That could be a customer, a partner, or a colleague in your company. You then go to that unit, if it's within your company, and start working with the people there so that is coordinated. And at the same time, in the first unit, you start looking at how can we further optimize this using the systems that we have. And this is, very simply put, your recipe for success. Start in one team, one unit, work with the people, how they work, the processes they have between each other, expand this into your workflows, understand how you can optimize this, involve adjacent units that are taking over your work or putting the work to you to make them optimize what they're doing, and then you go back, while they're working with this, go back looking at how can you optimize your own systems. It's a simple method, and it's working because it's simple. It also allows you to get successes faster that you can celebrate with the whole company. And when you start celebrating your successes, you will make your transformation project spread like rings in the water, because we as humans, we always want to be part of successes. And if by participating in your projects, in your transformation projects, you can become a part of success, chances are more people will sign up positively and help you transform what you have to transform. Now, obviously, this sounds easy for me to say, but when the rubber hits the road, it is always more complex than this. I like to give you some of the things that you have to be aware of and how to mitigate some of these risks that you're facing when you get into transformation projects. Before we're doing that, let me just give you a brief overview of how we work with transformation or innovation or digitalization in Daman. It's important for us to acknowledge that the true experts in the processes, in how we work with each other, are actually the people doing the work. I'm not an expert in everything that we're doing at Daman, so I have to rely on everybody else, all my colleagues, in helping me understand how can we do things better. We do this by having a very open culture and inviting everybody to come and tell us in your everyday work, what do you think is, may I say, stupid, and how can we improve this? You'll be surprised how much knowledge you will get just from opening that door and listening. The best ideas are typically in the frontline workers, the ones who are getting their hands dirty, who knows the problem, knows the systems, knows the customers, knows the other teams, other units. By listening to them, you will learn a lot about where to start. And by listening to them and involving them, the chances of your projects becoming a success are increasing dramatically, because you take their concerns and work with them, and they will be very happy to work with you on their concerns because you will be helping them. I've put together 6 items that I believe are the 6 most important things that are required for your transformation projects to be a success. First of all, set a truthful why. Why are we doing this? It's not enough to say that the board says we have to cut costs. You have to give something that makes sense for people. We are doing this to provide better healthcare to people in need. That makes sense. That makes people proud and they want to work with this. You also have to, in my experience, to begin with the perfect team. Put together the people who are truly motivated for doing change, who knows your business, who knows your systems, who wants to change. This is where you get a head start. They would like to apply their knowledge in helping changing. So put that team together and work with you. And then when they've proven a success, invite other people who've shown during this process or maybe just over the time that they are interested in changing as well. And as you heard a couple of times during today's talk, break your projects into chunks where you clearly can measure the success, celebrate the successes, make sure that every project is maybe no longer than 3 months long. And after 3 months, even if it's a small project, celebrate the successes. Show how this is a step towards the why, toward completing the mission, and then move on. If you have these 2 years projects, people, they lose interest because it's so far away, they don't even see the results. So make sure that you are working on small chunks and celebrating the victories often as you can. There is an old saying that goes, you get what you measure, which in my experience is true. And you can even extend this with saying that you get what you pay for. So 2 very important aspects of securing your digital transformation projects is to select the right kinds of outcomes to measure. Make sure that everybody, they know these are the KPIs, these are the performance metrics that we are running after, these are the measurements. This is what we have to target. And in extension of this, make people's incentives depending on it, especially if it is cross-unit teams. Make them depending on becoming a success together. This will strongly affect the speed of your transformation and the effect of the transformation. And lastly, because most companies, they have older IT system, legacy systems that will take time to change. If you're looking for fast changes, enable what Gartner calls two-speed IT, where you're separating your core systems from a front end, from a process optimization end. So you can have your teams working on the faster end, the process changes, the websites, the interfaces for your partners, and keep the core isolated, so to speak. It is possible using application programming interfaces, APIs, and there is a lot of articles and research about this. I've used it for the last, 10, 12 years, and it's working very well. It's realistic. It's not just a concept. The last thing I'd like to say are 4 pieces of advice. In order to focus on this, you have to stop projects. If you focus on everything, you're focusing on nothing. Stop projects, narrow down your focus, free resources to actually work on your key initiatives. Make sure you have 2 to 3 initiatives at a time you work on, not anymore. Stop whatever you have to stop to allow the team to work on these projects and nothing else. This will also require reskilling people. People, they have to learn new things. You have to teach them how to do process optimization or automation. You have to teach them how to work with digitalization. And that's perfectly fine. It is faster and better, and in many cases much more effective to reskill and re-educate the team that you already have than starting hiring people from the outside. I also suggest that you add this to the board agenda. Make the board ask us, how is it going? How are your projects coming along? Because that is very, very committing to success. If every board meeting you'll have the board asking what are the progress of these, and you're measuring it the right way and you can show the measurements, then the whole organization will be much more focused on making this a success. And I've said a couple of times, celebrate successes. Whenever you have something worth celebrating, celebrate it. Don't forget it, celebrate it. It makes everybody more proud of working with you and being part of your organization. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck.
Thank you, Frederik, for the insightful keynotes.